Hey, Travis.
Hi, Fabio.
1 second, just realized I'm using a different camera. Yeah. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
We're gonna wait a minute before we start. I think we can give it a go. We are 1 minute past. So, hi everybody. So today is May 30th, and so we are in the API Vision Working Group. In the agenda today, we have 3 items so far. So first of all, we have a question from me, like whether we have any progresses on the gap analysis. We have an issue here to start tracking all the differences we have between REST and GraphQL and try to understand their where the gaps are. I'm wondering what kind of approach we can take on this to make sure we can make some progresses there. On the verify side, I spoke with some engineering managers to get support from the team directly. So each team can look at based on the feature category or relevant models, they can have a look at GraphQL and REST endpoints to do this gap analysis. And there is like a link to the Google Sheet. And I'm wondering if there is anything else we can do. I was thinking maybe sharing more broadly in Engineer Week in Review. What do people think about that?
Yeah, I think sharing in Week in Review is a good idea. But yeah, I'm not sure if it will. Maybe it's better to have like a people responsible for it, because then people reading it and maybe some people looking into the gap analysis. But I think it probably won't help to to complete it. It's probably still a good step, but I think if you want to get it done, we need to assign people who are responsible for this.
So maybe get the support from engineering managers so they can track DRIs.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
I think, I'm not even sure. So we can start with engine managers. I'm thinking how the OpenShift support was done. And basically there, we had the director of product, Josh, who was the DRI. And he pinged me, for example, to look into Auto DevOps. And as I only own some parts of Auto DevOps, I pinged other product managers saying that please look at these because I have to report to Josh on all of that. So it was really a pretty hierarchical stuff. And we can try to start with DMs, but we might need to move on a bit higher, especially if you want all the sections and everybody to contribute and to sign up.
Yeah, sounds good. Any other questions or points on this before we move to the next point? Cool. So next point is from Alex. So there's been some discussion in the way of we can share implementation between REST and GraphQL. So Alex came up with a POC where that allows us to share implementation, well, basically calling GraphQL endpoints from REST endpoints, so defining a REST endpoint through way like to persistent queries. And I only had a look like earlier before the meeting on this, and it looks like really promising. There might be some, yeah, like it's Jagger said, some performance evaluation to be done. Jagger, do you want to?
I think that. Yeah, I think that this interoperability and common abstraction layer is definitely a very interesting idea, something that we've been thinking about exploring for a couple of years already. And I think that whatever approach we are going to take, we might want to ensure that our performance does not degrade like a lot. We know that there are customers who are heavily using our API with hundreds of requests per second, and even a small decline in how it all performs can impact everyone. GitLab.com, can be impacted like a lot. So I think that whenever we are talking about changes like that, we should also think about a method to prove that the performance will not get reduced like a lot. So probably, I don't know if this can be done in like an automatic way. I mean that we probably would need to keep the REST implementation and GraphQL and make it possible for both implementations to coexist at the same time for the same endpoints, and then perhaps we would have some kind of a feature flag that would allow us to switch between implementations, like with the scientist gem of GitHubs or something like that. Yeah, I just wanted to add this note about remembering the performance impact that is possible whenever you add another layer in between, basically.
Yeah, it seems that this can only be introduced with version 5. Might not be possible to be kind of refactoring some existing endpoints to actually use GraphQL. But I think it's a very interesting approach. Victor, do you want to verbalize your point?
Sure. Just as we are basically generating the REST endpoints, does it open up the possibility as well to generate according to OpenAPI spec and then generate the spec file perhaps as well? Or this should be thought about totally separately?
Yeah, this is something we can bring, a point we can bring into the POC. But we can, I'm wondering whether we can discuss, probably we create an issue about that is referenced directly in the POC. So we can put more discussions in the issue and more kind of implementation discussions in the merge request. So at least we have like a point of discussion. Maybe we can create like an issue about that. If Alex hasn't done that, I can probably create an issue and assign to the merge request. So we can link the discussions there.
Cool, thanks.
The next point is the agenda is regarding the API v5. Now, I think this might also connect with the discussion of the POC, where it might be part of that of this epic, even the POC, if we can all implement like RESTful endpoints for GraphQL in the v5. But my question was primarily like, how can we, like, where is this in the list of priorities, given we have like a lot of things at the moment, like a lot of open issues for this working group. Like, we have these discussions about sharing implementation, we have the gap analysis and a few other things already in progress. So I'm wondering, like, how much time should we invest in this? Or is this, do we want to put it in a roadmap? I'm not sure what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, so I think this is interesting, and you mentioned the priorities, and I might be mistaken, but I don't remember seeing any kind of list that includes the priorities or any kind of description of what is more important than interoperability, or what is more important than consistency. Like there are a few things that we've been talking about, yet I'm not entirely sure if we all agreed on what the priorities are. And perhaps, you know, that's the first thing we should discuss and agree on before we can, you know, plan what should be delivered first, or what is more important.
I think I have a very similar answer. Just I will specifically leave it for Grant to answer the prioritization around the API work.
Yeah, I think that without answering this question, basically, we are probably done for today, because without knowing what is the next thing to work on, probably it would be difficult to make progress.
Okay, then just one question that I have based on these things, like, do you think that we have too many things open today and we have to focus more on fewer numbers, like what's mentioned here, like gaps analysis, requirements for verified, upgrade stages, like that's the basic information that Grant should receive?
I don't think it's too much. We have not even started any kind of implementation yet, so it's all this exploratory phase. So I think that it's not too much, but yeah, I think it would be very helpful to understand what the priorities are here.
Yeah, my concern is more with, like, the more issues and more things we add to the scope, the bigger the scope gets. Like, so we end up having a lot of issues open. So should we, yeah, kind of invest more in the gap analysis, and at least we have like some data that we can use to leverage also the how we want to share implementation between REST and GraphQL, because that is kind of interesting information that we need for that as well. To see at least, you know, if we need to upgrade to API v5, what are the endpoints where we have discrepancies, and that could be solved maybe by sharing the implementation. So I think these two issues are probably the most important at the moment. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I think that the number of work streams or issues that are in flight may be actually relative to the progress we can make on it. So it depends on the number of people who can tackle those. It depends on the amount of time we can spend on them. And I think it's the problem here is more like the capacity than the amount of things that are in flight. If we cannot make progress on those, like everything is too much, right? So it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, let's bring this to Grant and see next week what can change, what change we can make. Cool. Anything else? Any other discussions points? Okay, I think we can get back 15 minutes. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.